This is Gia representing JiasWorld, and this is going to be a long video. This is going to be a rant. All the links to the information that I talk about in this video will be in the description box below. This video is about Find Our Girls. First of all, over 64,000 missing black women and girls, brown women and girls in the United States of America alone. There's over 64,000 who are currently missing. Okay? Nobody knows where they're at. There's no Amber Alerts. There's no news articles. There's no breaking news coverage about these black and brown women and girls who have gone missing in the United States of America. Now, I'm going to talk about specifically, for the purpose of this video, at the beginning of this video, we are going to focus on what's going on in Washington, D.C. Okay? And I'm going to post links to everything I talk about as far as articles and statistics and research in the description box below, because I am a firm believer in you need to be able to back up what you're saying and what you're presenting. So I'll leave links in the description box below. Just gonna talk about a couple of things, okay? I'm reading an article. In the first 3 months of this year, the District of Columbia logged 501 cases of missing juveniles. Many of them were black or Latino. As of March 22nd, 22 of these cases are still unsolved. Many are wondering why these cases haven't received the news attention that could likely help in the safe locating or return of these children. Many of them are young girls. Then, the night before March 22nd, as of that time, 14 girls were reported missing within a 24-hour period. Okay? And they listed the information of these girls, and I think it's really important that we say their names, okay? We know their age, and we know the time when they were last seen, because hopefully hearing their names, knowing their age, looking at the day that they were last seen, whoever watches this video or shares this video may have some information, may be able to report their whereabouts to the proper authorities. I'm going to name off the girls that are the 14 that were missing, right? And there's more. There's over 64,000, all right? Jacqueline Lacey, age 15, last seen March 10th, 2017. Anaya McNeil, 13 years old, last seen March 8th, 2017. Deshaun Wallace, 15 years old, last seen March 8th, 2017. Yeshaya Enoch, 13 years old, March 8th, 2017 was the last time she was seen. Talisha Coles, 16 years old, last seen March 7th, 2017. Morgan Richardson, 15 years old, last seen March 6th, 2017. Dayana White, 15 years old, March 3rd, 2017, last time she was seen. Gladys Keat, 18 years old, March 2nd, 2017, last time she was seen. Sayana Parker, 14 years old, February 24th was the last time she was seen, 2017. Shaquan Scott, 15 years old, February 16th, 2017 was the last time she was seen. Heaven Shamte, age 15, last time she was seen was February 2nd. Unique Lucas, 16 years old, last time she was seen was February 1st, 2017. Chastity Smith, 16, last time she was seen was January 27th, 2017. There is a hashtag that everyone's using on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr. They're using hashtags #MissingDC Girls, Find Our Girls. Those are some of the tweets and the hashtags that people are using. Okay? And I'm gonna leave a link to all of this, but what I find so shocking is the fact that if something happens to a dog, If a dog is hit by a car, is killed, is harmed or abused, there's breaking news coverage. You know, they're making laws on how we can protect animals and arrest people who abuse animals. But yet, black children and brown children, Hispanic and Latino, okay, African American, you know, black people and brown people can go missing and nobody turns a blind eye. People turn a blind eye to it, you know. They don't care. There's no coverage on the news. You don't see Amber Alerts. You don't see any of this. But something happens to a dog and it's like the world stops. Something's wrong with that picture. Okay? At this moment, there is a petition. Black members of Congress are calling for the Justice Department, led by our newly appointed Attorney General Jeff Sessions and FBI Director James Comey, to devote the resources necessary to determine whether these developments are an anomaly or whether they are indicative of an underlying trend that must be addressed. Now, this is very sad because if you know the history of Jeff Sessions is a racist bigot and has a history of being racist and supporting white supremacists, aka terrorists. And that is now our Attorney General. This person also lied on oath, but that person is now the Attorney General. You know, so rather, you know, it's kind of sad. It's sad because you don't know if your Attorney General is actually going to devote the resources necessary to determine what's going on with these missing girls, finding the missing girls, or figuring out who is this human trafficking? Is this sex trafficking? Is there a serial killer, serial raper, serial abductor? Any of that. We don't know if they're going to get the resources to do it because who Jeff Sessions is, right? And while over 500 missing children seem like some type of horror, officials say that these numbers are not unusual. According to police data, the number of missing child cases actually dropped in the area of Washington, D.C. From 2,433 missing cases in 2015 to 2,242 missing cases in 2016. The difference in law enforcement has been posting on social media more often, so the public is more aware about the missing children who go missing every year, which is why it's very important that if you see an Amber Alert or you see someone sharing that, hey, this person is missing, we need to share it. We need to blast it on our social media, our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, our Snapchat, our Tumblr. We need to share the names, share the information, so somebody out there who knows where these missing people are at, these missing humans, these missing children, where they're at, so we can find them safe and sound. This is a civic duty at this point, right? And this is, I'm just getting this information. I'm going to link it all in the description box. But Derica Wilson, who is the co-founder of Black and Missing, says that the fact that the numbers are holding steady is not a reason for us to relax or return to business as usual. She told International Business Times, we can't focus on the numbers. If one missing child, that's too many. And I agree. You know, it's the fact that people can disappear without a trace, and then like nobody knows where these people are at. You haven't heard from them. It goes decades. You don't know if they're alive, if there's a body that we should be recovering. We don't know anything. And the fact that there's not a constant everyday discussion on this is really sickening and sad. And it shows how, as a country, as a society, as a people, we have become so desensitized to this, okay? You know, it's unbelievable. Now I'm going to go to another site because I thought it was really important when I do this video, at least the beginning of this video, that I talk about the statistics on the situation. And also, after I finish talking about the statistics, I'm going to give a brief history lesson too on why certain groups of people in society can be treated horribly, can be murdered, slaughtered, abducted, and abused, and nobody gives a damn because we have a history of doing this to particular groups of individuals. But let me finish the statistics first. So, Blacking Missing Foundation, I'm going to leave a link to that because that is a foundation and an organization that is focused on finding missing black youth, children, okay? So, Essence points to a 2010 report titled Missing Children in National News Coverage, which found that while black children accounted for 33.2% of the missing children that year, the media exposure rate was an unimpressive 19.5%. Black men go missing at statistically higher rates. Coverage of black female disappearance is particularly telling in the light of the attention similar to stories when white women are missing or involved. This is very deep because we bring this up all the time. Black people can go missing. Nobody gives a damn. Meanwhile, a white child goes missing. There's an Amber Alert. I mean, we're going to hear it on all major news stations. People are going to be everywhere, right? They're going to be everywhere finding. There's going to be search parties. People are going to be in their communities searching to find that child. But a black child goes missing. First of all, if the police even take the situation seriously, right? Because there's this idea that, oh, they're just playing. Oh, they're just teenagers. You know, even though they've been gone for days, no one takes the situation serious. It's insane. All right? It's another thing I want to bring up, because I remember this 3 years ago in Nigeria, when 276 Nigerian girls were kidnapped by Boko Haram in April of 2014. And yet, we don't know if all those girls to this day were returned safely. Were they fine? We don't know if they were sexually abused, assaulted. We don't know anything. And that right there, going on 3 years, and that's still an issue. And that's my point. It's like how we become so desensitized and we don't even, I mean, there's no updates, there's no focus, you know, and it's like a person can be killed, murdered, missing, and it's like on to the next, on to the next. That's just how desensitized we have become. I mean, all right. So even though black people, black Americans, are only 12.85% of the United States population, the black Americans, we account for over 200,000 missing persons, which is around 34% of all missing persons, people who went missing, reported as of 2012. So you're almost 13% of the population, yet we account for 34% of the missing people. This is a Chucky Beat production. Think about that, right? Now, whites and Hispanics are a combination of 80.1% of the United States population and account for 60% of the missing persons. Now, when you look at numbers and you look at statistics, if you're only 13% of the population, yet you double, almost triple, you know what I mean? Almost triple the amount of people that are missing, yet you're this small amount of the actual population. This is ridiculous, and no one is taking these issues seriously. There is a problem. All right. Black and Missing reports that 37% of missing minors and 28.2% of missing adults in 2013 were black. Okay, no fewer than 270,000 minorities have gone missing since 2010. Yet 135,000 were black and 64,000 were black women. it's important that we know their names and we share their information, because anybody watching this video, any of us, could possibly be the key to bringing them back alive or finding their body and bringing closure to their family and loved ones. Now, I want to talk about a brief history. I'm going to leave a link to a book. Bell Hooks, Ain't I a Woman? I really think that's a book that everybody needs to read, regardless of your race, gender, sexuality, class, gender identity. Everyone needs to read that book. Ain't I a Woman by Bell Hooks. Came out in 1981. I've read it like 3 times, literally. And I find myself always going back to it, because Bell Hooks provides a historical layout for the stereotypes of black people and how we were treated as enslaved people, because keep in mind, we weren't slaves. They always use that term, slaves from Africa. No, we were people from the continent of Africa who were enslaved by Europeans, okay? But brief history. Black women, through white supremacy, through sexism, through misogyny, through racism, have been viewed historically as loose, not fully human, 3/5 human, sexually promiscuous, unrapeable, because we are seen as just being these sexual predators who just wants to have sex with every and anything. And it's okay to beat on her and assault her and physically assault her, sexually assault her, mentally assault her. And then you have the names like Jezebel, who is basically a whore, a slut, just out here for everybody. You can do anything you want to her. She is seen as, you could do anything you want to her body. And then you have the Sapphire, who is seen as the assertive, domineering matriarch or bitch. So these are some of the gender stereotypes and racialized stereotypes that have been placed on black women and placed on black girls. Then when we look at black men and black boys, it's very similar. Through white supremacy, misogyny, sexism, patriarchy, and racism, they're also viewed in a very negative light. They're seen as sexual predators who are out to get the white woman, out to rape and pillage. They're seen as barbaric, They're not human. They're not fully human. They're 3/5 too. So when you have a historical analysis of viewing black people and people of color as barbaric and sexual predators, not fully human, you can enslave them, you can hang them from trees, you can, steal them from their continent and their home country and their homeland, and you can force them into slavery, force them into captivity in the attempts to, as you say, bring Christianity or bring civilization to them. Whatever you want to use to try and justify the inhumane treatment of humans, of people. You have a history of that. So when you get to 2017, it's not a surprise that black women and girls go missing and nobody gives a damn. Because culturally, black women are pretty much the most hated group of people on the planet. But at the same time, everybody wants to be the black woman. Everybody wants to be the black man. But let me not even go there, right? And then when you look on TV, those same racialized and genderalized stereotypes of black people and people of color is still there. We're always viewed animalistically. You know, we're always seen as being in the jungle, wild, barbaric, savage. You know, we're always playing the same roles on TV, in the movies. You know, you're a thug, you're a thought, you're a hoe, you're a slut, you're a drug dealer, you're a crackhead, you're a crack baby mama, you're this. Nothing really positive. Everything's one-dimensional. One-dimensional. We're seen as this monolithic group. We're all the same, and we're all viewed this way. So it's not a surprise that people don't care when black women go missing, when black girls go missing, when black boys go missing, when black men go missing, when brown boys go missing, when brown girls go missing, when brown men go missing, when brown women go missing. Nobody gives a damn. Because through this historical analysis and the ongoing treatment of people of color, we're not viewed as being worthy. Our lives are not viewed as being valued or even mattering, which is why we have the Black Lives Matter movement, which is why we have the Say Her Name movement. Because historically, that's how we've been treated. That's how we've been viewed. Then you have people who are a part of people of color communities. They are people of color themselves, but they've internalized the hatred. They've internalized the racism, the white supremacy, the sexism, the misogyny, the patriarchy. They internalize it. So you have other people of color who also don't respect and don't view people of color either. You have other black people who were like, oh well, who cares if they're missing? It's their fault. And then you have this system of blaming the victim, you know? An ongoing system of blaming the victim. It's always the victim's fault that something happened to them. Next thing I want to talk about, feminism. Now, I identify as a feminist, but I'm also a black, gender non-conforming, gender fluid female. And if your feminism isn't intersectional, then you're doing it wrong. If your activism isn't intersectional, then you're doing it wrong. And I know some of you are watching this video. What's intersectional? What's intersectionalism? So I figured and I'll leave links to everything in the description box below. But let me make sure that we have a sound definition and description of what an intersectionalism means, because too often we have people who, oh, I'm a social justice, activist, and we got to fight for inclusion, but they're not really concerned about fighting for inclusion. They're more concerned about who they are and their social group, and they don't give a damn about other people who are suffering. And if that's you, then you are not a social justice activist. You are not a feminist. You are a bigot. You are no better than the oppressors that you're fighting against to be liberated from. Okay? So I'm just going to give a brief definition of it, okay? Intersectionality is basically the fact that social constructions or social categorizations such as race, class, gender, sexuality, what have you, yes, they can apply to an individual or a group, but oftentimes they overlap and are interdependent systems of discrimination or disadvantage. Okay, so for example, I'm black in America, African American, I have African ancestry, I come from African descent. but I'm also a female. Okay? I'm also gender non-conforming. I'm also gender fluid. Right? So, I have to deal with racism, sexism. I deal with the whole heteronormative society that we live in and the whole gender binary society that we keep pushing on other people. So I'm dealing with oppression, discrimination, and or disadvantages for more than one social identity. So when I say that I'm a feminist, I'm for gender equity where it sees fit, and gender equality where it sees fit. But on the same point, I'm a black woman, black female. So I look at race issues as well. I look at gender issues. I look at sexual orientation issues. I look at class issues. I look at all of this because I understand that we are made up of multiple social constructions, multiple social categorizations, and identities make us who we are, shape our environment, shape our reality. I'll leave a link so you can read more about intersectionality. But this term was coined by American civil rights advocate and scholar of critical race theory, Kimberly Williams Crenshaw. Give credit when due, okay? So, you see a lot of feminists, particularly white feminists, who they can understand gender issues, right? They can understand, being masculine, feminine, or looking outside of the gender binary, looking outside of the sex. There should be equality, there should be equity, there should be humanity, just treatment, blah, blah, blah. But they can't get past race issues. They can't get past class issues. And then you have some feminists who are homophobic, who are transphobic, who are racist, who are classist. But in the meantime, feminism, you're a hypocrite. You're a bigot. You're no better than the oppressors that you're fighting to be liberated from. You are a part of the problem. I have an issue with you. I have a bone to pick with you. You can't say you're for social justice and inclusion and then turn around and discriminate against another group of people. You're a hypocrite. You just contradict your entire movement and message. So to the white women, then this is something to think about, right? So we did the Million Women March, and you had all these white women all in Washington, D.C. who had on their pink hats or their pussy hats, marching, I'm a woman, hear me roar. But here we are, 2 months later, we have an overwhelming number of black and brown girls who are missing in the same area, Washington, D.C., and you don't see a Million Women's March. You don't see white women with pink hats or pussy hats out there marching and protesting to bring awareness to these black and brown girls who are missing in Washington, D.C. There is a problem. But that's just it. When you look at feminism, feminism has a racist history because feminism is a product of its environment at the end of the day. I mean, we live in a racist, white supremacist power structure. So it's not a surprise that feminism is rooted in racism too. Not a surprise. But there's a problem with that. And this is why in feminism, there's a lot of different sections of feminism because of that. So you have black feminism thought, hip-hop feminism, womanism. Alice Walker talks about it all the time. There's why we have different sections of feminism, because historically feminism is what? White, cisgendered, heterosexual, middle class to upper class white women. That was the focus. It wasn't really until the third wave of feminism that black women, brown women, women of color were actually at the forefront and taking into consideration. It wasn't until the third wave feminism that we started talking about class issues, race issues, you know, and including the LGBTQ plus population. Because once again, historically, feminism was white, cisgendered, heterosexual, upper to middle class to upper class white women, and they were the focus. So it wasn't until the third wave feminism that we really started getting more of an intersectional analysis. But even to this day, you still have some feminists who are just as racist, you know, homophobic, transphobic, classist. They're bigots. But in the meantime, women. And it's just like, if you're not outraged by the young black and brown girls who are missing, there's a problem. If you're not outraged about the young black and brown boys who are missing, there's a problem. If you're not outraged by seeing other people, other humans being discriminated against, being killed and murdered and slaughtered, you know, being assaulted and abused, there's a problem. You know, we only have one, at this moment, there's only one planet that we can live on, and that's planet Earth. And when one of us hurts, we all hurt. And when I said earlier about the dog, you know, if the dog is assaulted, abused, killed, tortured, there's nationwide outcry. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be, because I own 2 dogs. I love my 2 dogs. But my thing is, shouldn't that black girl or that brown girl who's missing, that brown or black girl who's being exploited and abused or disrespected or discriminated, shouldn't their life matter just as much as the dog who's being killed or abused matter? That's what I'm saying. And I'm fed up. I'm fed up. I'm so sick and tired of people claiming to be for the cause, claiming to be about social justice, equity, inclusion, but they ain't doing shit. You know, and it's to the point where the term social justice has been co-opted and is being used by people who really are not here for inclusion and equity. They could give a damn. They're just using the term because it benefits their motive at the time. I'm sick of this. Find our girls. It's time for us to call our elected officials. It's time for us to march, protest, rally. It's time for us to take action. We must be vigilant and we must be loud. We must speak out and against the injustices that are plaguing our society. Okay? No more brushing stuff underneath the rug. Oh, it isn't that big of a deal. It's a big ass deal when over 64,000 black women are missing. Okay? It's a big ass deal when anybody is being done wrong. Okay? Stop being so apathetic and acting like, oh well, it is what it is. It isn't what it is. We have the power to change society because we are society. Links and information will be in the description box below. Find our girls.